Hello, my name is Tony, and for National Domestic Abuse Awareness Month, which is the month of October, I decided to do a video to talk about my own domestic abuse story and hopefully encourage someone, enlighten people who may not know the signs and all of those things. Not from a professional standpoint, because I'm not a professional when it comes to domestic abuse, but from personal experience myself. I'm hoping to shed some light on the situation and maybe encourage someone to leave a situation that's not best for them. So, if nothing else you get from this, I hope you get, if you're in this situation, I hope you get strength to leave and know that you're not by yourself. You may feel like you're by yourself. You may feel like you're the only person in the world going through this situation, but you're not, because that's how I felt, and it wasn't true. And someone loves you. If the person that's abusing you is making you feel like they don't love you, they don't care about you, and no one loves you and no one cares for you, don't believe it, because someone does love you. You have family, you have friends. Someone loves you, and if you don't have anyone in your life to tell you that they love you, I want to let you know that I love you because I've been there and I understand. So, oh gosh, this is a very hard topic for me to discuss because it's still kind of fresh, but because it is Domestic Violence Awareness Month, I wanted to put something out just to help this be sort of like a therapy for myself and also help other people. So I met this guy um, who he's deep down inside. He has a lot of issues, but when he is at his best, he's a good person. He's very intelligent. I mean, his mind retains information ridiculous. He's funny, he's smart, he can cook, you know. He's a good person, but he is a drug user, and he has mental health issues that he was clinically diagnosed with, but he did not complete treatment. So he has been diagnosed, but he didn't do any therapy sessions. He didn't take medication, and he was self medicating with drugs and alcohol. And of course, you know, he was not the person that I met once things completely spiraled out of control. So I met this guy, and of course, during the honeymoon stage, everything is good. It was a couple months down the line where our relationship started turning for the worse because he was a very insecure person. Um, as a man, he was insecure, and that caused a lot of problems in our relationship. I noticed the signs, but I just kind of shooed it away, you know. And it wasn't because I wanted a man or I need a man, or, you know, like some women deal with it because they feel like they have to have a man in their life. That's not who I am. But for whatever reason, you know, I just overlooked it. Um, at the time, I was working two jobs, so I didn't really have the time or the energy to sit down and like analyze everything that was going on because I was always working and I'm a mother. So it was just so much going on that I never got a chance to really sit back and be like, okay, so this is going to like do my real investigative work. But um, from the beginning, it was signs. Dismissed it, went on about it. It wasn't until like right before the abuse actually started, that the physical abuse anyway, that I started really noticing stuff. His behavior, the way he was talking, things he was doing, and I would question him about it, and it was always a reason or a excuse for whatever, and it would always be someone else's fault. It was never any accountability for his actions. It was always, well, this person this and this person that. There was no accountability for what he did, or just, you know what I'm saying, just owning up to the fact that, you're a grown man. You can't blame your childhood and your upbringing. At some point in your life as an adult, you can't use that as an excuse. If you know what the problem is, you know that what you're doing is harmful and hazardous to yourself and other people, and you don't take the proper steps to fix it or attempt to fix it, then you can't use that as an excuse. That's not how that go. But that's what, he was doing. So, um, the verbal and the physical abuse, the verbal and the emotional abuse started. And then the physical abuse started around September of 2018. September is also my birthday month. So it was him. I found out he was doing drugs. He was smoking legal. Legal eats at your brain. Honestly, I thought he was smoking regular weed. I don't have a problem with weed smoking. I don't smoke, I don't do drugs, but I'm not going to shun somebody else who do it. That's just not my thing. But I later found out he was smoking legal. Um, Legal, because of the chemicals in it, that stuff starts to eat at your brain. You lose like any type of rationality you don't have. Um, so he started saying stuff and doing stuff. He just started moving different. And that's when I had to take it back and be like, hold on, what's going on? But I didn't really sit down and dissect anything because, like I said, I'm a single mother, working two jobs, on the go all the time. Like, you know, I later on found out that he was doing meth. So he was doing meth, legal, he was drinking, and he was diagnosed with mental health issues, two severe mental health issues. So, couple all those things together, he was a mess. Um, the week of my birthday, it was like 2 or 3 days after my birthday, was the most dangerous situation, um, because he had, I don't know what drugs he took, but he came home and then he just started flipping out. First, he started saying he was hearing stuff out the vent. And I was like, I don't hear anything. And he was like, no, I hear something. And I was like, I hear the air conditioner, but I don't hear, anything else. And then he started thinking that I was talking to people in the vent. And then he said that I was talking to his best friend. Like I had his best friend, who is a guy, hiding in the vent, and I was talking to him, and we were signaling each other back and forth. So then he started going crazy because he for sure heard his friend in the vent. He just knew I was talking to, like, if I looked at the ceiling or anything dealing with the ceiling or the vent. He just, like, no matter what room I went in, like it started in the bedroom. Then I was like, okay, I'm going to the living room. I come to the living room, same thing. Then he thought he heard him running across the ceiling. So then it was just like, okay, it just got out of control. He um there was a gun in the house, and I was in the bathroom. I was in the bathroom, and he still was going on and on about his friend being in the ceiling and us signaling each other and all that stuff. And then I look down, I'm looking at the counter doing something, and then when I look up, the gun is in my face. The gun is in my face, and I start crying. And I'm like, listen, it's me. Calm down, put the gun down. Like, we're good. Like, just chill out. And he just flipping out. He's flipping out, saying stuff, doing stuff. He put the gun down. Well, he lowered it. He didn't put it down. And he grabbed me, and I go into the room. And then he pushed me on the bed, and then he points the gun at the ceiling, and he says, um, you tell him to come down right now or I'm going to kill you. And I was like, I don't know what you're talking about. Like, stop. And I live in a apartment building. People downstairs, people next door. I just knew somebody was going to call the police because it was not quiet and it was late at night. Um, he kept yelling, tell him to come down or I'm going to call the police. Tell him to come down or I'm going to call the police. And a child was crying, and all of a sudden I felt the gun right here. And I have my hands in my head in my hands, and I'm crying, and I'm begging, God, please save me from this situation because he's going to kill me. He's not in his right mind. He's going to kill me. And he cussing at me, telling me to stop, to shut up before they call the police, before the neighbors call the police. Then he puts the gun in my rib, and I don't see where his finger is. I don't know if it's on the trigger or not, but I just know this man has a loaded gun to my head, and I'm freaking out. He he held me hostage in my bedroom for 4 hours, and he beat me for 4 hours. And it was the longest 4 hours of my life. I thought I was gonna die with my baby in the next room. I really thought I was gonna die. I cried. I tried locking myself in the bathroom. He just busted the door open. It was just, he took me in my daughter's room, and he was like, tell your daughter goodbye because I'm about to kill both of y'all. Not me and my daughter, but me and the guy he thought was in the ceiling. So I went in my daughter's room, and he told me to stay in there. He said, you tell me now if he up there, or you tell him to come down, because if he don't come down, I'm going up there. And I'm still telling him nobody's up there. And he's like, you lying. I know he up there. I know he up there. And he was like, I'm finna go up there. So this was when I just was like, okay, this is my way to get out. And I'm praying he's going in there. He go in the room. I'm in my daughter's room. He comes out. And he keeps saying, tell him to come down or I'm going up there. And I said, well, go up there because it's no one up there. So you can see it yourself. Go up there. He finally, after like 10 minutes of going back and forth, he finally goes in the room and he closed the door to the room. And I hear him go in the closet. So to back up a little bit, he had bombarded my front door. He put chairs, pillows, all type of stuff in front of my front door so I couldn't leave. So when he went into the room and I heard him in the closet, I grabbed my child, I ran out the house. Like, I moved all that shit out the way and I ran downstairs, and I'm banging on my neighbor's door like, please somebody call the police, please somebody call the police. And next thing I know, I feel him grab me around my neck and bang my head against the wall with my baby in my arms. She starts crying. I'm crying and screaming. He still has the gun in his hands, and finally, we was making so much noise. He was like, okay, here, here, here. He gave me the gun and he ran. I went back in my house, grabbed my keys, my purse. I went, I left. I was not staying at my apartment. His mom called the next morning, and let me back up. He took my phone, he took my cell phone. His mom, I spoke to his mom the next morning, and his mom asked what happened, and I told her. And there was no remorse. There was no like, I'm sorry he took you through this, whatever, whatever, whatever. It was none of that. It was, well, what was he smoking something? What did he drink something? Like, did he go somewhere last night? Like, there was no concern for me and my child. It was more of, well, where is he now? Is he okay? Like, the fuck? Like, you could literally be watching me and my child in a body bag on the news because your son is out here fucking doing drugs and hallucinating, and there's no concern for me. And let me just stop a little bit. His mother, to her credit, she did, when we first started dating, she did ask me if I was sure I wanted to be with her son. She said, my son, he a different breed. Do you think you can handle my son? I hadn't had any issues with him, so I was like, I'm good. I think I'm good. I haven't had any issues. As time went on, and all these, so many different things. Excuse the train in the background, y'all. I'm used to it. Um, but so many things had taken place that it was apparent whose side she was on. And of course, it was her son. It wasn't mine. His interest was the only interest she was concerned in. His well being was the only thing she was concerned about. Not that her son was abusing me, but that, you know, don't call the police on him. Don't. I was in a marriage and a relationship where this man was beating on me and I stuck through it and I dealt with it. She's one of them, you know. And when I finally, like, when stuff started happening and I wanted to walk away, and when I did walk away, she would she would do the mind games, like, so you just gonna let him stay on the street? Like, where is he gonna go? Because she did not want her son staying with her because she knew how her son was. So he couldn't live in her house. He couldn't spend the night at her house. She would rather him be sleeping in the park bench and homeless than him stay at her house. Because she would say, he can't stay here. He not going to get me put out. But she wanted him to come to my home and get me put out. And I had a child. She didn't care about me. She didn't care about my child. She didn't care about her child. She just wanted somebody to dump him on because she didn't want to be responsible for him. And when I did walk away, I would allow myself to be manipulated because I didn't cut off, I didn't set boundaries, you know. She would say, he love you. He's not taking his medicine. Just make him take his medicine and he'll be all right. Or um he don't want to be with nobody but you. He do the drugs. He'll go to rehab, and just making excuses for the behavior. and not neither one of them wanting to take accountability for anything, which when in the midst of everything going on, I'm not thinking about anything or anyone except for how am I going to get myself out of this situation. But when you got somebody in this ear, you got somebody else in this ear, your mind is so clouded that you don't know how you're going to get out of a situation. You don't know what to do. You don't know who to turn to. And I have family, I have loved ones, I have real friends who have had to call the police to my house because they thought he killed me. Okay? That's how bad stuff was. I had people telling me that Antoinette, he is not. No, ma'am, he's not the one. Go to run. Okay? No. And then they would ask me, like, what is his mother saying? Like, why you going through all of this? Like, do his mama know what's going on? And I would say, yeah, she know what's going on, but she excused his behavior. And they'd be like, oh no, you need to get away from both of them because that's not right. And as a woman, I would never encourage another woman to stay in a relationship with someone who is abusing them. Not just being a woman, as a human being, if I know that someone I love is being abused, it's one thing to tell that person, you know, this this person is this way. So I'm warning you now and I'm telling you. And you keep going, that person keeps encouraging you to stay in a relationship when you try to move on. And me, I when I started seeing how jacked up he was, I felt like for whatever reason I could fix him. I don't know why. I felt so bad for him. I saw how screwed up his family was, and I really don't have a better way to say it. But when I saw how screwed up they are, I understood more about why he is the way he is. So I was like, okay, so we're gonna do this, and this. Like this is gonna help you. So we're gonna do this. And I'm taking time off from work. And every time he goes to a mental health facility, I'm taking time off. I'm buying what he need. I'm visiting. I'm doing everything. But his family, including his mother, wasn't doing a fraction of the shit I was doing. And then he would get out the facilities and continue the same behavior. It just got to the point to where I just felt like I was drowning and I was so lost in the situation even when the physical abuse stopped, because it did stop. The verbal abuse, the emotional abuse, the manipulation continued and it only got worse. And at that point, it was something happening every day that I never had a time to decompress. I never had a time to had any time to just sit back and take care of myself or to reevaluate what was going on, because like I said, I was working two jobs. I'm a single mother. I was doing, my grandmother is elderly, so I helped with my grandma. It was just, and then having to deal with all of his shit, because it was days where I wouldn't get any sleep because he would be so high off of drugs that he wouldn't sleep for days. And he was doing stuff that I couldn't sleep, like lurking around corners and watching me while I was trying to go to sleep. Or he stabbed up my mattress and tore a chunk out of my mattress, which was a good quality mattress, may I add, because he thought a man was hiding in my mattress. So he stabbed up my mattress. Like there was no clean spot in the top of the mattress. Like there was a hole, a stab mark everywhere. Stabbed up my box spring and tore a big ass chunk on both sides of my mattress. Like he was really losing it off of these drugs. And like his mother knew the stuff that was going on, but it was in her mind, it was like, better you than me. I don't want him on the street, but he can't come to my house. And his daddy ain't want to have nothing to do with him. His sister and brothers didn't want to have nothing to do with him. His grandma them didn't want to have nothing to do with him. So, and I didn't want him out on the street because I figured if he was out on the street, he was going to get in more trouble. He was going to kill somebody or he was going to get killed. And that's not what I wanted. So I kept letting him come back, even though we wasn't in a relationship anymore. I didn't want him living on the street. So you can sleep on the sofa. Okay. But it was still some bullshit. And it was like I said, just my mind was so cloudy with stuff with him and then stuff with his mom. And I got to the point to where I was like, God, I prayed for months. I prayed for months. God, please, please get me out of this situation because I don't want to be here. And I was so weak in my spirit. I was so emotionally drained and weak. I felt like I just couldn't go anymore. That relationship took so much out of me that I didn't like who I became. I didn't like who I was. I was neglecting myself and my child, trying to save somebody who didn't want to be saved, who didn't care about themselves, and no one else cared. No one cared. And people knew, like, I would tell his mother what I was going through with him, and she didn't offer any help, but she would go and tell my business about what I was going through with him, and nobody offered to help do anything. And there's nothing anybody can do if that person don't want to get help. But it sucks when you care for somebody and you're in the midst of something and you have no outlet. You feel like you have no outlet. And for me at that point, I felt like I just couldn't just wash my hands and walk away. Even though he had done so much to me, so many different things took place, I still felt like I couldn't just, excuse me, I felt like I couldn't just walk away for whatever reason. But like I said, I prayed for months and months, and I just prayed, God, please get me out of this situation because I'm lost. I don't know who I am anymore. I don't like who I am. Give me strength to just walk away. Over the summer, this past summer, 2019, me and him hadn't been together for a while. It was a couple months. Me and him hadn't been together, and he had been in the streets. Um, I get a phone call 4 o'clock in the morning. I remember like it was yesterday. It was a Thursday morning, 4 o'clock in the morning, and his mom called me and said he had been accused of murdering someone. And I was like, "What?" It's 4 in the morning. I was like, "What is going on? It's too early." Um, I was on the phone while the detectives were at her home telling her the facts of the case and what was going on. And at this time, they didn't know where he was. So they said if he hadn't turned himself in by 7 o'clock, they was going to put his face on the news and put him as armed and dangerous. And he turned himself in and ended up officially being charged with second-degree murder. Then I kind of got sucked, not kind of, I got sucked back in because now it's like, okay, all these facts dealing with the case and stuff I can't really speak on because it's still an open case, but it was just so many different things going on. I kind of got sucked back in and I went to visit. I went and did visitations and phone calls and stuff. And his mom, in her mind, still had us together. And, was like, well, even if he served 2 or 3 years, you guys can get together and he can go to rehab and y'all can get married. And I was just like, I'm not marrying your son. Like, there are things that took place in our relationship that I never told her. And I will never tell her. That I will probably never share with anyone outside of my therapist, because it's just some things that even me at this point that I'm ashamed to even say that I tolerated and went through and dealt with. And she can't fathom her son being this type of person. But I've experienced him on and off drugs, and not just on one drug or two drugs, but three drugs, with the legal, the meth, the alcohol, on top of him having mental health issues. That's a whole nother beast. Um, with him being locked up, he would call and say he loved me, and he apologized even before he got locked up about the things that he took me through, and he did acknowledge that he has his problems. Um, but to me, if you're not willing to fix those problems when you've had every opportunity to fix those problems, then there's really nothing else for me to say. Your words are empty. They mean nothing to me. And he said he wanted us to still be together and all of this. And I had to let him know I will never be with you. Not in that way again. I don't ever want to see you again. Um, and I had to let his mother know how I felt about her. Because as a woman, I would never encourage another woman to stay in a abusive relationship. She fighting with her own demons, but I don't care if that is your son. There were times when I tried to walk away, and I can't fully blame her. However, you are wrong to encourage a woman to stay in an abusive relationship when you know that they are not strong enough to walk away, when you know that the abuse is going to continue, if that makes sense. Um, I would never encourage a woman to stay. I would never encourage anyone, man or woman, to stay in a abusive relationship, especially the magnitude of um, the abuse that I went through. There were so many different times where um, I should have walked away and I didn't, because in my mind I rationalized, um, it's the drugs. It's not him. It's the drugs. And I tried to get him to go to rehab. He didn't want to go to rehab. I can do it myself. I don't need rehab. Well, now he's facing a murder charge, and now it's I want to go to rehab. Well, it's kind of too late for that. I eventually had to learn, and like I said, through prayer, to breathe and really pay attention to the signs and take it for what it is. You can't hit me and say, I love you. Because love don't hurt. Real love don't hurt. You can't put your hands on somebody and expect that person to not retaliate. Because me and him did fist fight. We got into it sometimes. We did, I'm not going to lie. After like the second time of him putting his hands on me, I'm like, bruh, we really about to fuck it up in here, because I excused it the first time, even though that don't, that's a fucked up way of thinking. I understand that, but after like the second, third time, nah, bro, we finna be up in here fucking it up. And I admit my wrong in it. It was self defense, but I should have walked away. I shouldn't have stayed in a situation that that put me and my child in a bad predicament. I was wrong. Love, real love, don't hurt. Real love don't hurt. If someone loves you and they put their hands on you, they lying. The first time they put their hands on you, walk away. Don't stay. I don't blame anybody for what happened to me. I forgive him. I forgive his mom. Um, but I will never forget the experience. And I have something to pass on to other women or young girls who don't necessarily know or understand, or who've never been through that, and they may be going through it, or they may have questions because they may not be sure. Once people often say, you know, because I was one of those people, I will never let a man put their hands on me. You don't know what you're going to do until you're in that situation yourself. And I learned so much about myself. I'm a much stronger person. I'm a better person coming out of that situation. I wish I never had to go through it, but I learned so much from that situation about myself, about what love really is, about protecting myself and my energy, allowing the wrong energy into my life, tolerance, things that I tolerate and will not tolerate, having certain people in my life, and giving time, energy, giving my everything to people who don't deserve it. And he was definitely him, and respectfully, his mother did not deserve the good person that I am. It's not to talk bad about neither one of them, but as I look back at this situation, as I go through the process of healing and reevaluating myself and learning who I am and the woman that I am growing to become, I am not this situation. You are not this situation. If you are going through this, or you know someone is going through it, just let that person know that you're there. Don't shut them out, because I know it gets repetitive with the abuse and hearing about it all the time. Like, I know, because I was that person who would be like, I'm tired of this happening, I'm tired of that happening, and still staying in the situation. I get it. But let that person know that, hey, I'm here for you if you need me. Let them, just let them know that you're present, that you're there, and that you may not understand, but if they ever need a safe place, a ear to listen, whatever, that you're there. So that when they do get tired, when they finally get tired, you can, welcome them with open arms, and they'll feel safe. And don't judge. Don't judge. Because that made me shy away from some people who love me, and who told me only because they love me and they had my well-being, they cared about me and my well-being, but I felt like it was judgmental at times. And you don't want to, when you're going through something, you don't want to constantly be reminded that, this person is abusing you and you're going through this. Sometimes you just need an outlet. Sometimes you just want to be around people that love you. Sometimes you just have to deal with things in your own way, in your own process. But don't shun them. Let them know that you love them. Let them know that you care. Let them know that you're there for them. And if you are the one that's being abused, only you know your limit. But I pray you get out before it's too late. I got out before it was too late. I felt like if I had, even when got locked up for the murder charge, I still was dealing with his mom because his mom don't have anybody. So I was still trying to be there for her, and she kept drawing me back in. So I learned I had to, even when I made clear boundaries, she was still pushing them. So I had to stop talking to her as well. And I done heard little things, you know. I done heard some things, you know. And I'll be the bad guy. But I know what I did and what I went through. You don't know everything I went through with your son. He probably don't even remember most of the stuff he did because he was high. But I know that the love that I gave was genuine. And I know what I did was genuine and it came out of love and from my heart. So I hope this video helps somebody. It's kind of been a little emotional. I told y'all that one story. I could go on. I really could. Um, I'm not mad at nobody. I don't blame anybody for anything that took place. You know, I made the decision to keep entertaining the bullshit. But that's because I wanted to help somebody who didn't want to be helped. But now I know better. So I'm good. But if you're being abused, know that there are people out there, there are resources out there, foundations, people who can help you, who can steer you in directions to get your life on track, proper procedures and protocols to make sure that you and your family is safe. You're loved. Someone loves you. And if no one else is telling you they love you, know that I love you. And part of me loving you is making you aware of what you may be going through. And maybe you don't want to acknowledge it, or maybe you feel like you're too scared to deal with it. And there's more than one way to abuse. There's financial abuse when people who you're in a relationship with or close, the relationships are close, where they're in control of the finances and they're not giving you access to the finances. They're withholding finances from you for the detriment of you. Or if you have children, there's emotional abuse, there's mental abuse, there's physical abuse, and you can have all of those things done to you at once. Um, I've been there. I've been there. So you're not alone in a situation. Thousands of people every day get abused. And it's on different levels and it's different types of abuse, but it still messes you up in some way if you don't deal with it. I go to therapy. I have loved ones who I can talk to about what I'm dealing with because I have my good days and my bad days. Some days I have nightmares. I used to have nightmares really bad about when I was held hostage in my house. And sometimes I have flashbacks and I have to shake myself out of it because if I don't, I'll get stuck in it. But I'm doing the work to make me better. And I may never forget what I went through. But as long as I can remember it, I want to use that experience to help somebody else get through it. So, that's my domestic abuse story. I don't want to say I hope you guys enjoyed it, but I hope someone took something from it. And if it can help one person, then I'm good. I'm good. So this is my first video on YouTube like this. So If you guys have any other questions, or maybe you guys don't know how to find any resources, I'm not a guru, I'm not a professional, I'm not certified in anything. I just speak on my experience. But if you guys have any questions, if there's any way I can assist, um, let me know. Comment below. And if you feel comfortable sharing your stories or whatever, don't hesitate to express, because you may be helping someone else. Peace and love, guys. Bye.